What's going on, everybody? This is John Jake Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the NCSL Dynasty here on NCAA 14, and also featuring that college football revamp as well. We are here at the final week of the regular season. This is where champions are defined, where this week is famously known as that rivalry week. But not only is it somewhat of a rivalry week here, but we also have stunning upsets that sometimes happen. So we'll see if we have that kind of treat ahead of us here today, as we do have 16 nationally televised games once again. But not only that, we will have the opportunity to get some score updates, and when we get through all of that at the end of the day, we have a chance to see who are going to be the 20 teams that will be fighting for that opportunity to get an automatic berth into the college football playoff in that next episode, because next time out we do have conference championship week. So we'll see who will build that momentum, we're going to see who is going to go ahead and run out of gas. Should be a fun one either way. Hope you guys enjoy it, and if you do, make sure you go ahead, smack that like button, hit subscribe as well if you have to be brand new to the channel. I'll truly appreciate that. And with all that being said, let's go ahead and dive right into it. So we will go ahead and get things started with the Egg Bowl, and this Egg Bowl has a lot of implications here tonight. Mississippi State, all do they have to do to go to that Sun Belt Conference Championship is they got to win this game here tonight, and they will be champions of the Dixie Division. As you can see what those standings are looking like. Three-way tie at the top right now, but Mississippi State already has a win over Alabama. So the Crimson Tide are rooting hard for Ole Miss to win. So we'll go ahead and jump into this, as we already in the second quarter. A low-scoring game. It was a very rare thing to see. Snow in the state of Mississippi. It would be an apocalypse if there was this much snow on the ground this far down south. There would not be a full set of stands right now, I can guarantee you that. But that's the beautiful thing about college football, though, and that's the beautiful thing about Justin Forwerda, as he will get the first rushing touchdown of this episode, and Ole Miss will have a 7-3 lead for now. That being said, Mississippi State does have a chance to respond, facing a 3rd and long, though, looking for a big-time throw down the sideline, and it was for one of the teams, just not the team that you thought it could have been. Ole Miss does get the interception. They have a chance to capitalize later on in the drive, and they go back to Justin Forwerda, who is going to get his second rushing touchdown of the first half, and the Ole Miss Rebels will extend their lead here in the Egg Bowl. 14-3 is now your score, as Mississippi State trying to drive down the length of the field. They actually do. Steven Berg, how about the 10 toes down movement? You absolutely love to see that, as that was a dot to the back of the end zone. The Bulldogs are only down by 4 points. So 14-10 is now your score, as Mississippi State actually does have a chance to take the lead with this drive, but is going to throw an interception. Baldwin might have made a tackle that could have ultimately prevented this from being a pick six. Bryson Miller, he was all alone. He just had to beat the quarterback. But hey, that quarterback just took the correct angle. Rebels will go ahead and turn a field goal out of that. So still a 7-point game here for Ole Miss, is Mississippi State, even with all the mistakes that this passing game has made throughout this ball game, they still have a chance to come out and possibly go ahead and tie this game up late in the third quarter, as Baldwin is facing the blitz, but his team is given a lot of time. But Baldwin gets dropped in the backfield by Matt Witherspoon. He will be the one lucky recipient that is able to eventually get home. So 3rd down coming up for Mississippi State, as Baldwin again dropping back the pass, looks over to the left hand side, but it's going to be intercepted yet again. Going down the sideline, is going to be brought down at about midfield. Brandon Williams, he is having himself a day. That is going to be his second interception of the evening. And sure enough, Ole Miss is going to win the Egg Bowl, which means if Alabama wins their nationally televised game later today, that means they will be going to this conference championship. But now we'll go ahead and jump into the Heroes game matchup between Nebraska and Iowa. Nebraska coming in ranked number 20 in the nation, hosting and going to play at Kinnick Stadium, where an unranked Iowa team is awaiting them. Now, Nebraska, they have already clinched their way into the American Conference Championship, but a win here today not only could improve their national ranking, but what it could also do is, hey, they could be hosting the American Championship instead of having to go on the road. Big deal when it comes to these conference championship matchups. But Nebraska does still have their third string quarterback. Top two quarterbacks are still dealing with injuries. So Lauren Yancey, the true freshman, trying to navigate the Nebraska passing attack. He's going to get his guys all the way down to the 1 yard line before Tim Hayden's just going to go ahead and do the rest of the work. And Nebraska will take a short lead over the Hawkeyes of Iowa. But after that, a very defensive game. A lot of snow coming down here around the country. I mean, if we're getting snow in Mississippi, then I would imagine it's just be snowing or just really darn cold all over the place. Nebraska going to be switching between field goals with their counterparts in the Iowa Hawkeyes. As second quarter, we see both teams get opportunities in the red zone. Just neither team really able to finish in that red zone. But Nebraska will take a 16-3 lead at the break. But Iowa will try to inch its way back. And with that field goal late in the third quarter, Iowa will be down by just a field goal. So here we are in the fourth quarter, 16-13 your score. As Yancey wants to shut the door once and for all. It's going to throw over the middle to Tim Hayden, who's going to make the catch and pick up the first down as well. It sets up a 1st and goal, where Yancey looks to the right hand side, finds Jeremy Jackson, who does get lit up like a Christmas tree, but still looking at a much shorter goal line situation where they go with a speed option out to Tim Hayden on the perimeter, and Nebraska will score. Touchdown, Cornhuskers. And Nebraska will win a close one in the Heroes game matchup, and Nebraska will host the American Championship next episode. But speaking of those conference clinchers, we now go to Georgia Tech, who somehow isn't ranked, even though they're 9-2. I was a little surprised by that, to say the least. I think Georgia Tech's one of the best 25 teams in the country. Well, they are hosting Georgia, who is ranked number 23 in the country as of right now. Winner of this game will win the Peach title and will take on the Miami Hurricanes in the SEC Championship next episode. So a big one for both programs happening down here in Athens, Georgia. A rainy one as Bryant looks for his second touchdown of the day, but it's going to be intercepted in the end zone. So the Georgia Tech defense holds, and they will go and give themselves an opportunity to make this a tie ball game with 2 minutes left. Running back takes it to the corner, and hang on now, he's gonna be gone like a girl in a country song. Touchdown, Georgia Tech. David Garcia is gonna tie the game up for the Yellow Jackets. Matter of fact, Georgia Tech even has a chance and take the lead before we go into halftime, trying to throw the ball over to the left-hand side, but that one is not as fortunate. That does get picked off, but still a very good game here in the second half. Both teams are still tied up, a defensive-minded game, and that is going to continue with yet another interception here in the red zone. That's Bryant's second INT inside the 20-yard line, and that could cost them, because later on, very next drive following the interception, Georgia Tech does drive all the way down, and they'll pick up 3 points there. As the last play of the third quarter, Georgia will get a field goal of their own. So it's going to come down to this last quarter all knotted up. Whoever wins the fourth quarter will win the game. Well, eventually, after a sluggish fourth quarter, Georgia, with 10 seconds left, is going to get this field goal up, and it's going to be good. Wasn't sure if that field goal was going to get through. It wasn't kicked the best, but it barely gets through the uprights regardless. And that will seal Georgia in the SEC Championship against Georgia Tech, winning by just a field goal. So, meanwhile, we check in on Tennessee, going on the road to take on the Wildcats of Kentucky. Tennessee looking to build some momentum as they have already clinched their way into the MAC championship. They will be taking on Notre Dame. The Fighting Irish are playing Stanford. That's a non-conference matchup. So we'll see what this Tennessee team is made of. This could be a potential letdown spot, but it looks like Tennessee is taking Kentucky seriously, as they are in basically a goal line situation. 3rd and short. We'll see what they decide to do in this 3rd and 2 situation. They go back to the ground game, going to their quarterback, and running over defenders is Tim Landrum, who finds his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Tennessee. And the Volunteers, not only do they end up, playing up to that high level, they roll. Already up 24-0. A blood-splattering affair here in Lexington, Kentucky. That'll only get worse after yet another Tim Wilson touchdown. And sure enough, the Volunteers do roll 46-10, building momentum for the MAC championship. So meanwhile, the Conference USA championship has some implications for the Union Division. Navy going on the road to take on the Terrapins of Maryland. The winner gets to play against Army in the Conference USA championship game, or at least I believe that's how it works. Navy, however, in a dogfight with the Maryland Terrapins right now, as Maryland is going to kick a field goal of their own. We got a tie ball game here at 3 apiece. Is now Adam Parks with less than 3 minutes left to play in the first half. He's going to drop back. He's going to scramble out of the pocket. He's going to pick up the first down with his legs. And Adam Parks will pick up 13 yards there on the ground, as they'll face yet another 1st and 10. Parks is in the shotgun. He's going to drop back the pass. He's going to scramble out of the pocket yet again. Gets away from one defender. Down the sideline. Gets out of bounds. Big time run there by Adam Parks. And now Navy is in business in Maryland's side of the field as they look to take the lead before the end of the first half. Parks, with all the time in the world to throw, finds his receiver, Larry Robinson, for a short game, but this is why it showed that play. Robertson is going to improve his school record for most receptions in a single season. He could very well become the first Navy receiver in Academy history with 70 caught balls, and he might do it in this particular episode. That's catch number 69, which is, of course, very nice. We'll see if they go back to him for catch number 70. Parks drops back, looks over the middle, finds his receiver. He's going to break one tackle, and that's going to be Jason Anderson, getting the Navy midshipman into the red zone. As a few plays later, 3rd and long, Parks for the lead, fires, got it! Wesley Culp with the catch, touchdown, Navy! The midshipmen will take the lead into the half, and they're going to look to finish Maryland off here in the second half as well. Defense is playing dominant, and offensively, Navy is certainly starting to wake up here as well. They now have a 20-3 lead late in the 3rd quarter as Parks looks over to the left-hand side. He's got a wide, butt-naked man in the corner of the end zone. Touchdown, Navy! And Adam Parks will have the school record for most passing yards in a season, set by Jim Kublick back in 1993, before many of you watching this video might have even been alive. So congratulations to Adam Parks. Hopefully Navy can finish things off here, as Maryland, listen, they're down big right now. There's no question about that, but there's a lot of fight in this program. 2nd and short coming up as Maryland's in the shotgun. It's going to hand it off up the gut, and this is going to be a big run for Matt Young, who finds his way into the end zone. Finally, Maryland gets an offensive touchdown, but they're going to go for the 2-point conversion as well. This would make it a 2-possession game. Looking over to the right-hand side, quarterback's going to scramble, and Elliott Williams is going to punch it in. Touchdown, Maryland. So a 2-possession game nonetheless, as Navy with a 27-11 lead over the midshipmen, is now Austin Walden looking to shut the door here in the 4th quarter. Navy with yet another red zone opportunity. Parks, he's going to take it out. He's going to get sacked in the backfield, and that is going to be Brad Jackson with a sack. He's had a good day today. He's already got 4 TFLs. So now 2nd and 15 coming up after the sack. Parks drops back. This one, he's going for it all, and he gets it all. Touchdown, Mike Thompson. And Adam Parks is dealing today. That is his 4th touchdown pass of the day. He has been absolutely balling out for Navy today. But I told you, this Maryland team is simply not going to go away anytime soon. Maryland's going to get the touchdown there. They'll also go for yet another 2-point conversion to make it a 15-point game, but it's going to be dropped in the backfield. Even a fumble on the ground. Navy recovers it, but it doesn't matter. The 2-point conversion is unsuccessful regardless. So, 3-possession game instead of just a 2-possession one. Could that hunt them down the line? Maryland's not thinking about that right now. They are just going fast and furious, trying to storm back. We fast forward to a minute left in the game. This would make it a 1-scorer. If Maryland can punch it in, they will give John Meeks forward progress. But it's only a 5-yard gain, though. They only have one timeout to work with. As a throw over the middle of the end zone, John Meeks, they go back to the big, beefy tight end. And Elliott Williams finally has a passing touchdown to his name. But Maryland must get the onside kick in order to go ahead and try to get a chance to win. And it looks like that 2-point conversion failure will haunt them ultimately. Navy will win 34-31 and possibly go to Conference USA Championship. Now, we do have some studio updates to worry about. How about Hawaii? Getting close to a 10-win season as they beat Fresno State 24-14. Could be a team in the conversation for one wildcard spots in the college football playoff. Speaking of those college football playoff implications, we got a Battle of LA on our hands. UCLA is going to go and take on USC in that classic Battle of LA. Now, USC, they already have clinched their way into the Pac-12 championship. However, this game would be helpful for both teams, particularly for UCLA. UCLA cannot get the automatic bid for the Pac-12. They'll need this win more if they want to be in that wild card conversation at the end of the season. This will be a great statement win for UCLA if they're able to pull this off. But it starts strong for UCLA as Ben Scott is going to put the ball on the ground, and it's recovered by UCLA. Can the Bruins capitalize, though? Goal line situation, few plays later, and sure enough, UCLA is going to punch it in, courtesy of Jake Cook. And the Bruins of UCLA draw the first blood. They're going to be up 7-0, but quickly we see that ground game for UCLA, well, it's having itself a good old time. As of right now, UCLA will make it a 14-0 lead. As now, USC drops back the pass, looks over to the right-hand side. USC will find itself on the board, finding Anthony Johnson in the corner. Touchdown, Trojans. And Anthony Johnson wide, butt naked open. Nobody is missing that pass. If they're remotely competent, and Ben Scott, who has won a national championship already, he's certainly that guy. So USC back in this game, but we're here in the second half, and it looks like UCLA is trying to pull away yet again, as we have yet another touchdown on the ground, as that is Jake Cook with his third score. And now another goal line situation. UCLA scores yet again. Kobe Green just finding the soft spot in the defense. So UCLA looking like they're on the verge of dominating USC. The Trojans, they need to score in the worst way. Scott tries to check it down, but it's intercepted. And this is trouble down the sideline. And he is going to be gone like a girl in a country song. Touchdown, UCLA. Ryan Cohen is going to pick off Ben Scott. And then his legs do the rest of the work. Just nobody in screen to possibly chase this guy down. You absolutely hate to see it. And this is a perfect microcosm of this game, as UCLA would go on and win in a pretty dominating fashion, actually. UCLA will end up winning 42-21. It was a brutal win for UCLA and a great final impression to make that surely could convince voters that, hey, this team needs to be considered for one of the 2 wildcard spots for the NCSL College Football Playoff that's going to be starting in a couple of episodes from now. But we have now more games getting ready to go on tap. How about Florida State taking on Florida? That'll be an exciting one for sure. First, we'll check in on the Iron Bowl. And the Iron Bowl has some surprising developments. Auburn is going to be up 13-0 here in the Iron Bowl. So Alabama in a fight for their lives in Tuscaloosa. And we've seen this Alabama team start slow a couple of times. We've seen them start slow against teams like Troy, for example. We'll see if that becomes a bigger issue. If Alabama wins here today, though, they will win the Sun Belt Dixie Division. But Auburn making sure everything gets spoiled for Alabama. They could kick Alabama out of college football playoff conversation once and for all, as it looks like the Crimson Tide will have a 10-point deficit going into halftime. Now, we jump into the fourth quarter. Not a lot happening in the third. Alabama does have a field goal. So, they are only down by 1 possession. This touchdown means everything. And this could possibly be the ball game right here. 4th and 3. We'll see what the play call is. They go to their best offensive player, Quinn Lake, who is going to surge forward. And he will pick up the first down for the Crimson Tide. A new set of downs to work with as well inside the 5-yard line. Lake has the ball yet again. Is going to hand it off and nearly gets it in. But it's Chip Woods that gets his first carry of the day. Only for a gain of 5 yards though. And again, they face another 4th and goal. This time, they're going to throw. Brashard finds Ernest Concepcion for the touchdown. They're now looking at a tie ball game. But Auburn looking for the finishing blow. A 50-yard field goal. It's good. Auburn is going to hit this field goal with less than a minute left. Bama fans cannot believe it. And Auburn shocks Alabama in the Auburn Bowl. The Tigers win 23-20. So that being said, we now switch over back to the opposite side, the Sun Belt Conference Bayou Division. As we now know, Ole Miss will be there in the Sun Belt, but LSU controls their own destiny as well. A win here today will help them in their quest to go to the Sun Belt Conference Championship game. They gotta beat Arkansas, and Arkansas, they're putting up a fight as well. They're being feisty in that battle with the Golden Boot. LSU down by a couple of possessions, but Mark Palmer finally gets the scoring started for LSU. Midway through the second quarter, is now down to a 1-score game. Next minute, Arkansas is forced to go 3 and out, and LSU got a chance to tie. They're going to go to their receiver. How about this run that leads to a touchdown? You absolutely love to see it. A tie ball game in hand, and just in general, this entire game has been competitive. LSU does pick up a field goal in the second half, so Arkansas needs to put together a drive. This might very well be the last time they see the ball here in the regular season. Jacobs drops back on a key 4th and 9. He's got a man open. He's got his man. 10-5. Touchdown. Logan McGee. A 61-yard strike. And Arkansas will also stun LSU. Just chaos in the final week of the Sun Belt Conference. You absolutely love to see it. Now we move out to the Swamp as Florida State is getting ready to host a fellow team ranked in the top 10. The Gators of Florida, ranked number 9 in the entire country. And this has big implications. Miami, we know that Miami's going to win the SEC Sunshine Division. But this game could go a long way to help determine who goes to the college football playoff. Think of it as a play-in game. And it looks like Florida State is a little bit more ready. Chris Hartman is going to pick off BJ Peters here. And it could set Florida State up for some good possession. We'll see if they can turn this into points. As one of the last plays of the first quarter, going to hand it off to the tailback, James Dodd. Dodd on the outside. He gets a block on the outside. And is going to be dragged down. But not before Aaron Dodd crosses the plane. Touchdown, Florida State. And the Seminoles will take a 10-0 lead through the end of the first quarter.
So far, the Seminoles are looking ready for his hostile environment. Second quarter jumping in, though, is B.J. Peters trying to throw over to the right-hand side. He is under duress. And, man, that duress might have been the difference between 7 points and an interception. He had his guy open. He absolutely had his guy open. But the pressure forces a bad throw. And that bad throw leads to an interception. Florida State looking to open it up as their quarterback's going to try to run it up the middle, but he puts the ball on the ground as well. Florida's going to recover. So the defense is going to step up and keep Florida State in this game. So exciting first half to say the least, even though not the most scoring at all. But Florida State will be out here trying to put this game away. Run to the outside, and Devin White might have slammed the door. I mean, this was a big-time run by Devin White. How did he get out of that dog pile? I would never know, but Florida's in trouble regardless. 2-possession game, 4 minutes left to play. B.J. Peters needs a touchdown. Looking, throws to the right-hand side and gets intercepted one more time. This won't be brought back to the crib, it seems like. Going to be brought down at about midfield. But the turnovers have been a story in this game as B.J. Peters has just simply struggled mightily. 4 interceptions in one game. That's what I call a big yikes moment. But even then, Florida State could not run out the clock. So Florida still has all of their timeouts. And yet, here we are, barbecue on the titties. B.J. Peters with a chance to try to make it interesting, but another turnover seals it. So Florida State is going to win the Sunshine Showdown, 20-6. Florida State with a great regular season, 11-1. They won't be in the SEC Championship, but I'm sure we will see Florida State as one of the at-larges for the college football playoff when it's time to show those brackets. So we got a few more games getting ready to kick off for us now. We got one of your custom coaches going into action. Coach McNair, new head coach for Duke in his first season in that head coaching role. Taking on their hated rivals in North Carolina, 7-4. Technically doesn't have much implications in terms of that big picture. But don't tell that to these two teams. These two teams, oh boy, they simply hate each other. But North Carolina is the team that is off to a hot start as of right now. Gonna get this field goal up in the air, and it's good. And North Carolina, for much of this game, is gonna be handling their business, as this could turn to yet another touchdown. It does. John Burden, the fullback, gets a touchdown there. And North Carolina just continues to dominate this Duke Blue Devil squad, who just simply looks outmatched and outgunned at any turn. We do see some garbage time points from Duke, but North Carolina, they were in control the entire time. Now, that being said, Texas A&M currently on a 2-game winning streak as of right now after starting the year 0-9. Well, they take on another rival in Missouri. This dates back to when they shared the Big 12 conference together once upon a time, back in those early 2000s of college football. And Missouri is going to be handed a run for their money as Texas A&M is going to steal the pitch. And look at this. There is no man out there that could catch him. And that linebacker is going to be gone. Say it with me, kids. Like a girl in a country song. Touchdown, Texas A&M. And the Aggies have a 10-0 lead. Missouri, consider them being put on upset alert right now. But Jake Lewis is not going to accept that easily, as Jake Lewis is going to run it into the end zone himself. Now at least cut it down to just a 3-point game. But Texas A&M will drive down the length of the field before the end of the half to get these field goals up. That'll help Texas A&M extend their lead temporarily before Missouri goes ahead and does literally the exact same thing. So, tight game going into the half, and it looks like it will remain tight the entire time. Both teams just trading punches this entire time, but neither team having a hard time finding the end zone offensively. I don't think we've seen a single offensive touchdown this entire time, except maybe with Jake Lewis. But Texas A&M's going to win 22-17. They'll finish the year on a 3-game winning streak. Now we go to a battle in the Palmetto State as Clemson will take on South Carolina. South Carolina trying to spoil Clemson's season as they're trying to make sure that Clemson falls out of that top 25. Clemson losing last week to Virginia Tech. So we won't see Clemson in the ACC championship, but we can still see Clemson with a possible 10-win season, which is still a great season by every metric. You know, you love to see that. But third and short, still a tie game, and it's going to be opening up on the ground for Dominique Hawley. Dominique Hawley's going to get an 11-yard run there, and it sets up a goal line situation. First and goal with 5 minutes left to play in the half, and it looks like the custom Kaisuke Nakamura. The custom quarterback's going to find the end zone. Touchdown, Clemson! And Clemson will now have a 14-7 lead. South Carolina will try to answer back in the second half, though, as their quarterback's going to try to scramble and just bit a little bit too much than what he could actually chew. First turnover of the game. It's been a pretty clean game up to that point. Until the second half, Clemson might be taking firm control of this game now, as if they score a touchdown here, this would give the Tigers their biggest lead of the entire day. Currently, it's a 9-point lead, so South Carolina still in it. But boy, will they need a goal line stand. A stand that'll certainly not be easy to achieve. 16-7, still your scores. We got a second and goal now coming up as they hand it off to Dominique Hawley into the end zone. Touchdown, Clemson. They even go for the 2-point conversion, and that's good too. They will also get that 2-point conversion. Now it's 24-7, and Kaisuke, well, his guys are rolling at a high level. This offense, particularly on the ground, Kaisuke is that dual threat quarterback. He almost has 100 yards rushing. We'll see if he picks up the rest of those yards on this carry. He doesn't. Hands it off to Alan Grant instead, and he finds the end zone. Touchdown, Clemson. And the Tigers will achieve a 10-win season. The Clemson Tigers win it 31-7. Now, studio update coming your ways. We actually have a few studio updates. Ohio State? Oh, baby, what is you doing? Ohio State gets stunned in the final weekend of the season to San Diego State, 35-28. The Aztecs will be sure go to a higher bowl game, and you love to see that, but the Buckeyes, now they'll need to win the Big Ten Championship next episode in order to experience the college football playoff. That's big. Meanwhile, a little bit of a matchup update in the Mountain West. Colorado State beats BYU 35-23. The Rams, after nearly winning the Mountain West last year, they won't even experience a bowl game. Speaking of those bowl games, Stanford needs to find a way to win this game in order to be eligible for postseason action. Notre Dame will certainly not make it easy, as they are also a team that is trying to build momentum for that MAC championship game in the next weekend. They got to go into Neyland Stadium, which will be a tough challenge in its own right. And they're also looking to get into that top 10 as well. So, late in the first quarter, we still do not have a score yet. Do we finally see the goose eggs being removed? And sure enough, Greg Hunt pitches it out to his receiver. They're counting it as a passing touchdown, which I thought was really interesting, but really low scoring game. Notre Dame actually does have a hard time getting its offense going, but luckily defense was absolutely amazing in this one. They only allowed a field goal up to this point, and of course, with the amount of talent that is on this Notre Dame roster, surely, and I mean eventually, they were gonna find a way to go out and win this game, right? You had to win this one if you're Notre Dame as well. And Stanford, who is treating this like their Super Bowl, like their lives depending on it. Well, looks like the nail might be put in the coffin right there, as Greg Hunt is going to throw his second passing touchdown of the evening. Stanford desperately needs some points on a 4th and 20, so you got to put it in play. Unfortunately, puts it right into the hands of a Notre Dame defender. Andrew Adams has a rough one, and after a promising start for Stanford to begin year number 3, this team will once again not experience bowl action. So just a few more games left in this episode as we now check in on the number 2 ranked Texas Longhorns, who will be taking on the Baylor Bears, who are still missing their starting quarterback. Wes Jordan is still injured, so Baylor does have their backup quarterback in the game, who doubles as their holder, by the way, because that's just how NCAA 14 works somehow. Baylor has the lead. Baylor surprisingly has the lead and can extend their lead as well. This could be a 2-score game if he can punch it into the end zone, which he does. Touchdown, Baylor. They're looking to mix things up in the college football world. Texas put on the brink here in the first half, but Texas is not going to panic. They're just going to rely on this explosive offensive attack, and eventually this offense was going to put some points on the board. They may have been contained here in the first half, but in the second half, a little bit of a different story as Johnny Branch is found there in the back of the end zone. Touchdown, Texas. So the Longhorns are up by a singular field goal, but Baylor will also tie as well, looking at a 20-all game. Texas, however, looking to respond before the end of the third quarter. We're going to hand it off, and it looks like it's going to be a run for the quarterback, Jason Adams. The backup finds his way in. Touchdown, Longhorns. But even then, they're still embroiled in a battle against Baylor. They need that touchdown, and they're going to get the touchdown. And they'll also try to hit this field goal in order to put Baylor away, and that shouldn't do it. Texas got a test against Baylor, but they do pass it in order to have an undefeated regular season. We do have one more studio update. And how about this? Memphis beats Louisiana Tech 31-26. So here's what this means. Memphis, because they have the win over the Raging Cajuns earlier this year, it will be the Memphis Tigers who will clinch the Bayou Division Trophy. They'll take on Ole Miss in the Sun Belt Championship. Speaking of clinching situations, we have one out in the Mountain West as well. Utah, with a win, will clinch the Mountain Division, whereas Colorado, they're looking to win, and if a win for Colorado would also pit them in the Mountain West Championship as well, winning that Desert Division. So could be maybe a possible championship matchup in the Mountain West next episode. We'll have to wait and see, but Colorado at home is really relying on that 12th man, and it will help Colorado race out to a 14-0 lead before Willie Bradford will finally end the scoring drought for the Utes of Utah, who cut to a 1-score game. But here we are in the second quarter, though. Colorado looking to continue their strong offensive start, and they're going to continue to add points here in the second quarter as Colorado will tack on a field goal there early in the second quarter, but Utah now has a chance to make it just a field goal game. Willie Bradford using the legs for rushing touchdown number 2. Bradford is going to punch it in, and that will make it 20-14. Colorado with that 6-point lead. Looking around, though, Colorado trying to put points on the board before the end of the half. It's going to end up being intercepted and is brought inside the 30-yard line. The Utah cannot fully capitalize. They're going to settle for this field goal attempt, which they do at least make. You got to give them credit for that. But a 1-score game going into the second half. Is Colorado starting to believe that they can pull this upset off? I think they possibly can. 20-20 is their score, but Utah is looking to take their first lead of the entire game. The kick is up and it's good. Going into the fourth quarter, Colorado down by a field goal. They have a chance to take the lead late, though. Looking over the right-hand side, it's intercepted. There's a lot of time left in this fourth quarter, but this could be the moment where Utah pulls away and clinches that ticket to the Mountain West Championship, possibly hosting as well. As we get a throw over in the middle of the field, that's going to be caught for a first down. So Colorado does work its way back into the red zone. Defense is clutch as well. First and goal. Colorado trying to take the lead. And James Todd, oh, he was so close. But it will be second and goal instead. Can Utah make a goal line stand? Second and goal coming up. Gonna hand it off. It's gonna be a fake. Quarterback keeps it. And Stephen Tyson untouched into the end zone. Touchdown, Colorado. And the Buffaloes on the verge of going to the Mountain West title game. But Utah not giving up. Bradford looks over the middle and throws it right to the linebacker. Oh, you absolutely hate to see it. But Utah is able to use their timeouts to afford themselves one last shot. Bradford wants to go deep. He had a man. He actually did have a man, but underthrew him. And Willie Bradford is going to be haunted by this. Colorado will go to the Mountain West title game. But Utah, they'll need Wyoming to lose. Otherwise, it will be the Wyoming Cowboys to go instead. But the very last regular season game that we have here tonight is Oregon State taking on the Ducks of Oregon. Both teams have struggled immensely through conference play, and it leads them to a winner-take-all. Winner is going to be bowl eligible, so you got to call this what it is, an eligibility bowl. Winner goes on and possibly experiences a bowl game. Loser, their season is going to be done. And it looks like Oregon State has the early lead so far in this civil war between the two Oregon schools. As we're going to get a nice run up the gut for Darrell Sanders. Darrell Sanders will pick up a gain of 16 yards there. And it leads to a goal line situation. Oregon State, we're going to make it a 2-score game. And sure enough, they got it. Oregon State will take the lead. An even bigger one. Make that 14-0. As Oregon trying desperately to claw out of this early hole that they are in here in the first half. But man, Oregon State certainly making it tough on them, as they actually got quite a bit of scoring here in this Civil War matchup. In spite of all of the snow that is falling on the ground right now, Oregon State has yet another goal line opportunity. We're going to make it a 2-score game. Quarterback's going to keep it, and Scott Green is going to find his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Oregon State, I should say. Oregon does have a chance to answer with 2 minutes left to play in the game. Going it out to Wes Hawley, who does make the catch and get out of bounds. Stops the clock at 1:58. And it opens up the playbook as well, as they're going to try to throw to right inside. It's intercepted. He had the right idea. He had to lead him a little bit more, though. Oh, you hate to see it. And it looks like Oregon State will experience bowl action, while Oregon, their season is going to be over. So we've seen a lot of really good college football over the course of this episode. But what about the games that we didn't get a chance to look at? Let's take a look at some of the notable box scores. How about Northern Illinois? They continue to find ways to win. They are now considered a 10-win team, courtesy of their 43-35 win over West Virginia, and it denies the Mountaineers the opportunity to go to a bowl game as well. 2 birds with 1 stone. As for the Black Knights of Army, they are going to finish their regular season undefeated. Army is going to be 12-0 thanks to a 49-23 victory over Boston College. Army seems like a virtual lock to go to the college football playoff. They could submit for sure. They win the conference championship next weekend. As for the California Bears, they will also finish as a top 10 team thanks to a 38-14 win over Nevada. For Cal, they are not going to the Pac-12 championship, but they put themselves deep in that conversation to get one of 2 at-large spots in the college football playoff. As for Minnesota, they are not going to go to a bowl game, but they at least finish with some pride, though. They blow out Kansas 49-14. Still a disappointing season for the Golden Gophers, but they at least finished the year on a 2-game winning streak. Meanwhile, Southern Miss is going to blow out Tulane 48-14, and it shows that the Sun Belt has been a very volatile conference this year. Tulane will still be bowl eligible, but not carrying much momentum into the postseason, however. For the Ragin' Cajuns, they beat Arkansas State 49-23. However, because we saw Memphis in the studio update win, they will not be the ones going to the Sun Belt Championship. However, Ragin' Cajuns are still having an excellent season. They could get to 10 wins if they win their bowl game, which I'm sure they're going to be able to go to.
As for the Miami Redhawks, they are now going to be ranked in the top 25. They do so after beating Indiana 28-9. The Hoosiers, however, on the exact opposite spectrum, they will finish this football season completely winless. You hate to see it. As for the Ohio Bobcats, they needed a win in order to be bowl eligible, and boy do they get it in a big way. They blow out Kent State 42-10, so the Bobcats will be bowl eligible, while Kent State, they're still going to finish 500 too, but considering there's only so many bowl games to go around, this is not the type of game that you want to finish on. Meanwhile, in the Apple Cup, we have Washington go at it against Washington State, and this was kind of the result that we expected. Washington blowing out Washington State 56-21. Washington will be going to the Pac-12 championship as they'll look to lock up that #1 seed for the upcoming college football playoff. As for the Owls of Rice, they win their final game of the season 42-23 against the Cougars of Houston. Rice now cementing themselves as a top 20 team. Maybe not enough to get to the playoff, but this is certainly a team that will get an invite to a major bowl game. So with that being said, let's now take a look at the conference championship games to see what awaits for us down the line. And how about this? We actually have a couple of your custom coaches that will be participating in the conference championship weekend. George Gentry in his first year as the offensive coordinator at Nebraska, for example, he will have his guys not only at the American Championship, but they are also going to host, as they will be hosting Wisconsin. This was a matchup that we saw back in season number 1 for the American Championship, a matchup that Wisconsin won, so Nebraska will certainly be looking to get their revenge for this year number 3 iteration of the American Conference Championship. And then how about Remy Natalius? Remy Natalius not only getting Wyoming bowl eligible, but the offensive coordinator has his guys at the Mountain West Championship game, and here's why it's really important. What we have here is because the NCSL has expanded to a 12-team playoff. That means that each conference does receive an automatic bid, so Wyoming and Colorado are playing for that automatic bid from the Mountain West right now. That's what's happening in this game. Remy Natalius and the Wyoming Cowboys will go on the road, and they'll take on the Buffaloes of Colorado in what should be a very intriguing matchup out in the Mountain West. Now, as for the other games that we have planned here in Conference Championship Weekend, pretty big one to start things out. Noon kickoff. We have Notre Dame taking on Tennessee. The Volunteers are going to be hosting at Neyland Stadium. This is a top 15 matchup, and both teams not only could win the automatic bid right now, but both teams also have a reasonable chance of getting one of the 2 wild cards in terms of making the playoffs. So a big matchup for the MAC, one that could potentially see 2 teams get in. As for the other noon games that are happening, we got SMU, who somehow find a way to win their division. Well, we're going to have to go up against the buzzsaw that is Texas. The Longhorns are 23-1 in the last 2 seasons in regular season play. They feel some type of way of being left out. Texas can cement themselves in the playoffs with a top 4 seed too, if they just handle their business against SMU. Now, in the Sun Belt, this is a little bit of a surprise here. So, Ole Miss is the higher-ranked team. The Ole Miss Rebels are slightly higher-ranked. They got in because they did beat Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl. And then we also saw Alabama lose to Auburn in the Iron Bowl. So, that's how Ole Miss was able to win over in the Dixie Division. Then the Bayou Division was an absolute cluster. Memphis was able to find its way through. Not only did they win their game, but also Ragin' Cajuns, because they beat LSU, opens up the door. So not only does Memphis get the chance to host the Bayou, but they're actually also going to be hosting in Memphis, Tennessee as well. Big moment for this Memphis program. Now, for the Conference USA Championship, Army, a team that we haven't had a chance to see live too much yet here in year number 3. Army is a really good football team as well. They come in ranked number 3 in the nation. They have a real chance of being one of those 2 wild card at large bids. but I'm sure they want to lock things up by beating Rutgers here in the Conference USA Championship Army will be hosting. As for the SEC, we will have two top 20 teams that will go up against each other. These two teams have not faced off yet here in year number 3. Georgia, by the skin of their teeth, they were able to win the Peach Division. They had to beat Georgia Tech to do it, and they do so in a close one. Whereas Miami, they beat Florida State, they beat Florida as well, and those are the two teams that were closest to the Hurricanes. In spite of a rough loss to FAU and kind of being lethargic in the last month, Miami is here and hosting the SEC Championship. They're the champions of the Peach Division. Now, a few more games that we have on the docket. We have the ACC, NC State, and Virginia Tech getting ready to go at it. Neither of these teams are ranked by any means, but Virginia Tech could sneak into the top 25 if they win against North Carolina State. But this should be a very interesting and a very intriguing matchup that we'll certainly be looking forward to watching. And then we got the Pac-12 Championship. The best conference in America getting ready to duke at it. Washington, ranked number 1 in the country. They'll take on USC, who is 10-2. This game will decide whether or not USC is worthy of going. If the Pac-12 wants at least 2 teams, it would be in the best interest for USC to win, because I think Washington can stomach 1 loss and still get in as an at-large, but it could get a little bit dicey. This should be one of the more entertaining games of the week. But how about this? We also have what is simply known as the game. The game in the Big Ten Championship, a bit on the line. Ohio State is coming off of a surprising loss against San Diego State. Michigan, however, is still undefeated, led by Fred Morris IV, and they'll be hosting up in Ann Arbor. It's going to be the battle of the century, and we are certainly going to be excited for it. So, guys, that is going to wrap things up here for this final week of the regular season. It's going to be explosive. It's going to be amazing. As next episode, what we will end up doing here is we will decide 10 of the 12 bids to the college football playoff, this expanded college football playoff in the NCSL, and we are certainly excited for it. If you're excited as well, I need you guys to go ahead and do me a favor, smack that like button for me, and then also hit that subscribe button as well if you happen to be brand new to the channel and love what you see. This is John J. Gaming on the mic signing off. I'm hoping you guys are all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.